Hey guys, welcome back to the Foolish Show. Of course, I am Foolish Phil. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really like it, hit that subscribe. Appreciate those. Now, just wanted to give you some thoughts about the college basketball tournament wrapping up. And kudos to Kansas. If you didn't stay up and watch the game, like me, because I'm a middle-aged man, 9:20 tips are not very fun for me. I got a young family and all that. But reading about the game here, Kansas overcomes a 16-point deficit, beats North Carolina. Sounds like it was a great game. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, fine. Kudos to them. They win. I have to just say one little fact. I don't know what it means, but in my 27-friend family pool of people who did a bracket, no one picked number one Kansas to win the whole tournament. No one. It's like, well, why is that? Like, number one seed, and none of the 27 people, including myself, picked Kansas to win. It's just kind of surprising that a number one would have no picks. But it made me think, why is March Madness so much more interesting than the college football playoff? And I think there's a few reasons. For one, I think the college basketball gets the novice fans to come into it, right? It's easy to do. You fill out a bracket, and you can care about it. It's like 3 weekends. It's not terribly long. It's a lot of fun. There will obviously be friend pools, work pools, all that kind of stuff. It's real easy to do. And the nature of the game, single elimination, really brings about the unknown, the upsets. Can you pick the upset? So I really think that's why, like my niece picked St. Peter's. She did. She picked St. Peter's to win the first, I think, 2 games. Yeah, so she had beating Kentucky and then winning the next game. So just crazy, right? And my niece got that right. So it's just kind of fun that way, that like people who, if you will, have no sports knowledge did better than me. It is what it is. Now, I think so that uncertainty, that craziness, the March Madness draws people in. I think it's the most popular 3 weeks of sports there is. Now, I say that considering the fact that the NFL playoffs are 4 weeks. Not 3 weeks. So I would say NFL playoffs are probably more popular, but that's 4 weeks, not 3 weeks. So I would have to say definitely the March Madness reigns supreme in all of college sports. And it made me wonder, why is March Madness so much better than the college football playoff? Don't get me wrong, Michigan made the playoff this year, great, but I think there's some things that really hurt college football playoff versus March Madness playoffs. One of the big things, I think, is that they have such a long layoff. If you consider Selection Sunday comes out and teams have at most 5 days, really like 4.5, something like that, 4.5 to 5 days to get ready for a team, at most. And that's if they play the Friday game. Thursday games have less, and obviously if you're playing a team that plays the play-in games, you have even less than that. So your team has far, far less time to prepare for one single opponent. And I think that just really helps the upset nature of basketball, too. Because all of a sudden you have, just say, even if you survive your first round game, then you have to come back in one day off, and come back, and now you have to be ready for a completely different team. And I think that just bodes for upsets. And March Madness loves the upsets, especially the first weekend. As the tournament goes on, that's where you really want your cream to rise to the crop, where you want your 3, 2s, and 1 seeds to keep going. But I think that's a big part. College football, they have a 3 to a 4 week layoff, where you get to just practice and prep, getting ready for one team, one opponent. And there I think you really see where you have the dominant talent really shows forth, because it's not just, it gets rid of that time frame, gets rid of the ability of upsets to happen. So I think that's one big reason why the college football playoff is so much worse than basketball. Another thing that really annoys me about college football, the playoff. Some people say the whole season's a playoff, and to a degree that is correct, at least as we sit with 4 teams in. Is the whole mantra of the eye test. The eye test. I'm so sick of that term, the eye test. Because all you have to do is base it off, well, how do they look during the regular season? Well, they have the eye test. And it doesn't even matter if they win their conference or not. I mean, it is what it is, but I'll just call it out. Georgia did not win the SEC title game. They lost to Alabama. They still made the playoff, fine. They won the whole thing, fine. They're not the only team to do that. Ohio State failed to beat Penn State, and they didn't win the Big Ten, but they went to the college football playoff. Well, Penn State went to the Rose Bowl. So even winning your conference matters nothing. It's the eye test. And it made me wonder, if we were going to do the same thing, an eye test in college basketball, what would have happened, right? So I went back the last 5 tournaments. That obviously skips 2020, I think it was, got canceled for COVID. So this year, I make the assumption that if you're going to have the eye test, that the number 1 seeds would go to a 4-game playoff, just like the college football, right? So the number 1 seeds would go to the college basketball playoff if we're taking the same thing, right? Basketball versus football. So this year, only number 1 Kansas made it. So 1 out of 4. Last year, 2021, 2 out of 4. 19, 1 out of 4. 18, 2 out of 4. 17, 2 out of 4. So if you add it all up, 8 out of the 20 number 1 seeds made it to the Final 4. So that's only 40%. So again, that goes back to randomness of a single game elimination, randomness of not being able to have time to prepare for teams, right? So I mean, if you're looking at the eye test, that's completely debunked in basketball. Now, you might say, foolish Phil, in football it would be different. We don't know that though, because we have 3 to 4 weeks to prepare for the one single game. And then you have like another week and a half, 2 weeks to prepare for your championship game. What would happen if we had a maybe 1 week layoff, or the first top 4 seeds if you go to a 12-team playoff, and the first 4 seeds get a bye week? They still only have 1 week to prepare for a team. They don't have the full 2 weeks to prepare because there might be an upset. It might not. Just for example, it might have been Ohio State versus USC or something. I'm just picking team, Utah or something. I don't know, whatever. And there might be an upset there. So the team preparing Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati this year would not have had 2 full weeks to prepare for one team. They'd have 1 week to prepare for that team. They wouldn't know who the winner was. So I think that would make for much more compelling football, right? Again, as you can tell, I'm a proponent of more football. I love football. I think the college football is the best sport there is, but definitely not the best playoff, for sure. So, the eye test, I think, is a bunch of trash. Because in basketball, it doesn't pan out at all. If the eye test was the big deal, the number 1 seeds would be making it at least 2 out of 4, if not 3 or 4 out of 4, right? But that's happened, I think, one time in my memory where all 4 number 1 seeds made the tournament. Obviously, I don't have the longest memory in the world, but it does not happen very rarely. And like I said, the last 5 tournaments, only 40% of the 1 seeds make the Final 4. Another thing that I think really is dumb overall in college sports, especially college football, college basketball, why are we having the final games on Mondays? Why? Women's basketball has their Final 4 on Friday, championship on Sunday. I think they're smart. They look at the NFL and they see the NFL has Super Bowl Sunday. Sunday. People are at home. They watch the game. Great. Monday night. A lot of people work Tuesdays, if you didn't know that. Whether that's for the final game of the football or basketball. People have to work the next day. And you know what? People are going to be going out, and not everyone wants to stay up till midnight to watch a game. Just saying, it's dumb to have it on a Monday. Much better, especially, I know you can say basketball, like you have the Final 4 on Saturday. It makes sense. You're not going to wait a whole week. I get it. They missed their opportunity. They really should have had it Friday, Sunday. Just saying. Take a cue from the NFL. Anyways, I really think football, the one that can change, instead of having it on a Monday, why don't you have it? I know you'd want to avoid the NFL. I know that. I get that. Why don't you have the championship game on a Friday? You could stay up. It would be like the start of a football weekend. You would have the college football title game on Friday, then there'd be NFL playoffs on Saturday and Sunday. Why don't you have it on Friday? I am much more likely to stay up on a Friday night when I do not have to wake up the next morning to go to work. Much more likely on a Friday than a Monday. So, and one more minor thing. I don't know. I don't even know if I really want to bring this up because it's apples versus oranges here. But in NFL, obviously you have a lot more propensity to get injured versus college. But do you hear college basketball stars sitting out March Madness? Are they sitting out the games because they want to help their draft stock? They don't want to get injured. No. When you are in a playoff game, you do not have teams, players, best players, sitting out. Just think of, I think it was the Peach Bowl, if I'm mistaken, sorry. But Pickett for Pittsburgh sits out. Kenneth Walker III sits out for Michigan State. There's your two headliners for both teams sit out. Why? Because the game is pretty much worthless. It's just a consolation game. You do not make the playoff. Boom. Why play in it? I know. I said, I know. College is much more injury prone in football than in basketball. But still, if you had a bigger playoff, you're going to have those guys wanting to play. All right. I've spent enough time on this. It's my foolish rant about the college basketball, college football playoffs, what I think. If you guys have any thoughts, you've watched this whole thing, appreciate it. If you have any thoughts, put them in the comments below. I'll try to respond as I'm able to. Thanks for watching, and until I see you guys next time, as always, go blue.